You are 30 seconds away from completely transforming your life without religion. Millions of people around the world apply Buddhist principles to achieve personal success without ever stepping into a temple or adopting any spiritual belief. I'm talking about practical mental strategies that entrepreneurs, elite athletes, and world leaders use daily to make smarter decisions, overcome obstacles with less stress, and create extraordinary results. What you are about to discover in the next few minutes is not abstract philosophy. These are concrete tools that work in the real world. Here are 7 secrets no one told you about how your mind can become your greatest ally for personal success. 1. The observer effect. The first secret completely revolutionizes how you deal with negative thoughts and difficult decisions. I discovered this when I realized I was living as a prisoner of my own mind. Western culture teaches us that we are our thoughts, but that is a devastating mistake. Your thoughts are merely temporary mental events, like clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness. When you understand this, you gain a superpower, the ability to observe a destructive thought without being controlled by it. Imagine being in an important meeting and hearing that inner voice saying you aren't competent enough. Most people identify with that thought and act with insecurity. But when you recognize it's just a temporary mental pattern, you can choose to act with confidence despite feeling insecure. This separation between the observer and the thought is what differentiates people who make smart decisions under pressure from those controlled by emotion. Practice this. When a negative thought arises, mentally say, I am having the thought that I am inadequate, instead of, I am inadequate. This small shift in language creates psychological distance and the freedom to choose your response. 2. Detachment from results. The second secret destroys one of the biggest traps of modern success, attachment to results. I see brilliant people paralyzed by the fear of failure because they confuse their identity with their outcomes. Buddhist detachment doesn't mean not caring about goals, it means not depending on them emotionally to feel valuable. When you reduce this emotional dependency, something magical happens. You become more creative, more persistent, and less anxious. Think of an elite athlete. They want to win desperately, but at the moment of competition, they focus only on the process and technical execution. This is the difference between desire and attachment. Desire motivates you, attachment paralyzes you. Successful entrepreneurs apply this constantly. They commit fully to a project but maintain the emotional flexibility to pivot if necessary. They don't interpret failure as evidence of personal incompetence, but as data to adjust their strategy. Start practicing this in small situations. Set a goal, work intensely to achieve it, but mentally prepare for 3 possible scenarios, including failure. You will notice your performance improves as your anxiety decreases. 3. Strategic compassion. The third secret goes against everything you've learned about competitiveness and mental toughness. Compassion is not weakness, it is a powerful strategic tool for success. Neuroscience research shows that people who practice self-compassion recover faster from failures and maintain motivation for longer periods. When you make a mistake, your internal reaction determines how much time you'll spend ruminating versus learning and moving forward. Destructive self-criticism creates a vicious cycle. You fail, you attack yourself mentally, you become emotionally drained, you perform worse, and you fail again. Self-compassion breaks this cycle. Instead of thinking, I'm an idiot for losing this opportunity, you think, making mistakes is part of the learning process. What can I extract from this experience? This shift in perspective keeps your energy focused on the solution, not the problem. Compassion toward others is also strategic. Compassionate leaders create more loyal, collaborative, and productive teams. I'm not talking about being nice or avoiding hard conversations, but about approaching conflicts with the intention to resolve, not to punish. When people feel you genuinely care about their well-being, they work harder and forgive your mistakes more easily. 4. The power of microhabits. The fourth secret is about how small, consistent actions create massive transformations. Practical Buddhism emphasizes the path, not the destination. This means your focus should be on the quality of your daily practice, not the grandiosity of your dreams. I see many people failing because they try radical changes that are impossible to sustain. They want to meditate for an hour a day when they've never meditated for 5 minutes. Buddhist wisdom teaches the power of minimum viable habits. If you want to develop a skill, commit to the smallest possible action that is still meaningful. Want to learn a language? 5 minutes of daily practice is infinitely better than 2 hours once a week. The secret is not in the intensity of each session, but in the repetition over time. Your brain builds neural pathways through repetition, not intensity. A small action repeated for 100 days creates more real change than an intense action done 10 times. Identify one area you want to improve and define the smallest possible daily action, so small it would be embarrassing not to do it. That is the seed of transformation. 5. Embracing impermanence. The fifth secret will change how you handle shifts and uncertainty. Impermanence is a universal law, everything changes constantly. Resisting this reality creates unnecessary suffering, while accepting it gives you a massive competitive advantage. When you internalize that nothing is permanent, you stop procrastinating while waiting for the perfect moment and start acting with the information you have now. Successful entrepreneurs understand this intuitively. They know the market will change, technology will evolve, and competition will adapt. Therefore, they focus on building adaptability, not rigid plans. Your career is also impermanent. The skills that got you here might not take you where you want to go. Accepting this frees you to invest continually in learning. Even your current problems are impermanent. That crisis that seems unsolvable today will be a memory in a few years. This perspective doesn't minimize challenges, but it gives you the energy to face them. Practice reminding yourself daily, this too shall pass. This applies to both the hard times and the good ones. 6. Body-mind integration. The sixth secret reveals why smart people often make terrible decisions. They rely too much on the rational mind and ignore the wisdom of the body. Buddhism teaches that true intelligence integrates mind, body, and intuition. Your body processes information that your conscious mind hasn't captured yet. That strange feeling in your stomach during a negotiation might be picking up subtle signs of dishonesty that your logical analysis missed. To develop this skill, you need to create moments of silence. Before making important decisions, pause. Take a few deep breaths. Feel your body. What sensations arise when you imagine each possible option? Expansion or contraction? Lightness or heaviness? Energy or fatigue? These sensations are valuable data points that complement your logical analysis. Don't make decisions based only on them, but don't ignore them either. Wisdom emerges from the integration of reason and intuition. 7. The already present potential. The seventh and final secret is the most powerful of all. The realization that you already have everything you need to begin. Buddhism teaches that Buddha nature, the capacity for awakening and fulfillment, already exists within every person. In practical terms, you already possess the mental tools necessary to create significant change. You don't need more courses, more books, or more techniques. You need to consistently apply what you already know. Most people collect information as a way to avoid action. They feel they need to know more before they start. But knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. You already know exercise is good for you, but knowing it doesn't get you in shape. Transformation happens in the application, not the information. Choose one of the secrets I shared and practice it for 30 days. Just one. Master it completely before adding another. This sequential approach builds confidence and creates real momentum. Conclusion. These 7 Buddhist secrets work because they address the root of the problems, not just the symptoms. Instead of trying to control external circumstances, they teach you to develop internal qualities that work in any situation. If this content made sense to you, leave a comment telling me which of these secrets impacted you the most and how you plan to apply it. Your experience might inspire others. If you want more practical content on personal development and mental strategies that actually work, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And if this added value to your life, leave a like so more people can discover these powerful tools. Until the next video. And before we go, I want to address 3 fundamental aspects that make the difference between knowing these secrets and actually transforming your life with them. The first aspect, the trap of internal resistance. When you begin to apply these Buddhist principles, your mind will create resistance. This is natural and expected. Your psyche is programmed to maintain familiar patterns, even when they no longer serve you. This is what psychologists call mental homeostasis. Your mind prefers the predictability of known suffering over the uncertainty of positive change. For example, when you try to implement operative detachment at work, your mind will whisper, "If you don't worry obsessively about this project, something will go wrong." When you practice strategic compassion with someone who irritated you, an internal voice will argue, "This person doesn't deserve your understanding." When you accept the impermanence of a difficult situation, your mind will insist, "But you need to solve this right now." Recognize these voices as a natural part of the process. They are not absolute truths, they are just old mental patterns trying to maintain the status quo. The Buddhist tradition teaches that this resistance is like clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness, temporary and without real substance. Observe it, acknowledge it, but do not identify with it. A powerful technique for dealing with internal resistance is what I call the 3-breath protocol. When you feel resistance arising, take 3 deep, conscious breaths. On the first breath, acknowledge the resistance without judgment. On the second, remind yourself of the benefit you want to achieve. On the third, take an action aligned with the principle you are practicing, even while feeling the resistance. This technique creates a space between stimulus and response where wisdom can operate. The second aspect, systemic integration. These 7 secrets do not work in isolation, they empower each other when integrated systemically. It's like an orchestra, each instrument has its function, but the magic happens in the harmony of the whole. Let's see how this works in practice. Imagine you are facing a conflict in a relationship. The first secret, trained mind, helps you maintain emotional clarity instead of reacting impulsively. The second, operative detachment, allows you to communicate without the desperate need to be right. The third, strategic compassion, gives you the perspective to understand the other person's point of view. The fourth, consistent action, keeps you focused on behaviors that build connection instead of destroying it. The fifth, acceptance of impermanence, reminds you that this conflict is temporary and can be transformed. The sixth, body-mind integration, helps you notice physical tensions that may be intensifying the emotional conflict. And the seventh, practical application, keeps you focused on concrete solutions rather than abstract arguments. See how each principle informs and strengthens the others. This systemic integration is what transforms knowledge into applied wisdom. It is not about mastering 7 separate techniques, but about developing an integrated approach to living with more awareness and effectiveness. To facilitate this integration, create what I call systemic check-ins. Once a week, set aside 15 minutes to review how each principle is manifesting in your life. Where did you apply a trained mind? How did operative detachment influence your decisions? What opportunities did you have to practice strategic compassion? This regular review strengthens the neural connections associated with these patterns and accelerates their natural integration. The third aspect, continuous evolution. Buddhism teaches that personal development is not a destination, but a path. You never finish applying these principles, you continue deepening and refining your understanding throughout your life. This perspective is liberating because it removes the pressure of perfection and replaces it with continuous curiosity. Each phase of your life will reveal new layers of these teachings. In your 20s, a trained mind might mean developing study discipline. In your 40s, it might be about maintaining balance between career and family. In your 60s, it might involve accepting physical changes and finding new purposes. The principle remains the same, but its application evolves with your circumstances. This continuous evolution also means you will make mistakes, and that is an essential part of the process. In the Buddhist tradition, mistakes are not moral failures, they are valuable information about where your practice needs refinement. When you react impulsively instead of applying a trained mind, or when you cling to results instead of practicing operative detachment, these are precious data points about your growth. Develop what I call the personal scientist mindset. Approach your practice of these principles as ongoing experiments. Test, observe results, adjust variables, and test again. This approach removes the emotional weight of failure and replaces it with productive curiosity. Deepening the practice, specific scenarios. Now I want to show you how these principles apply to specific situations you likely face regularly. Scenario 1, pressure at work. Imagine your boss has given you an impossible deadline for an important project. Your instinctive reaction might be panic, anger, or defeatist resignation. Let's apply the 7 secrets systematically. Trained mind, instead of letting emotions dictate your actions, you stop, breathe consciously, and evaluate the situation objectively. What resources are available? Which parts of the project are truly essential? Operative detachment, you commit fully to doing your best work within the limitations, but you detach from the need for everything to be perfect. Your focus is on the quality of your process, not on controlling external variables. Strategic compassion. You consider that your boss might be under pressure from superiors. This perspective allows you to respond strategically instead of defensively. Consistent action, you break the project into executable microtasks and maintain steady progress. Acceptance of impermanence, you remind yourself that this pressure is temporary and that situations change. Body-mind integration, you monitor physical signs of stress, tension in your shoulders, shallow breathing, and use body techniques to maintain mental clarity. Practical application, you translate this into concrete actions, reorganizing priorities, communicating a realistic timeline, or negotiating scope. Scenario 2, family conflict. A relative made a comment that hurt you deeply during a family lunch. You feel anger and the urge to strike back or withdraw. Trained mind, you recognize you are emotionally activated and create space before responding. This space allows you to access wisdom instead of reacting on impulse. Operative detachment, you detach from the need for them to immediately understand how their words affected you. Your focus is on how you want to behave. Strategic compassion, you consider they may be going through difficulties you're unaware of. This doesn't justify the behavior, but it gives you the perspective to respond wisely. Consistent action, you maintain behaviors aligned with your family values, respect and honesty, even if you don't receive the same in return. Acceptance of impermanence, you remember that family relationships go through phases, and this moment of tension does not define your entire relationship. Body-mind integration, you notice how the hurt manifests physically and use body awareness to maintain emotional openness. Practical application, you translate this into specific communication. When you said that, I felt hurt. I'd like us to talk about it. Clear, direct, and without victimization. Scenario 3, important financial decisions. You are considering a significant investment, perhaps buying a home, changing careers, or starting a business. The decision involves risk, uncertainty, and long-term impact. How can Buddhist principles guide this process? Trained mind, you collect information objectively, consult experts when necessary, and analyze data without letting irrational fears or excessive optimism distort your assessment. You also recognize the limits of your knowledge and seek complementary perspectives. Operative detachment, you commit to making the best decision possible with the information available, but you detach from the need for absolute guarantees or specific results. You accept that every investment involves risk and that you do not control all economic variables. Strategic compassion, you consider how this decision affects others, family, partners, employees, and seek solutions that honor both your needs and theirs. This might mean different timing or structures that protect everyone involved. Consistent action, you align the decision with your long-term financial values and ethical standards, even if it means turning down tempting opportunities that don't fit your larger plan. Acceptance of impermanence, you remember that financial situations change, markets are cyclical, and adaptability is more valuable than rigidity. This allows you to make decisions with conviction without obsessively clinging to specific scenarios. Body-mind integration, you pay attention to physical signs of intuition, a sense of expansion or contraction in your chest, mental clarity or confusion, energy or lethargy. Your body often processes information that your conscious mind has not yet organized. Practical application, you create specific criteria for the decision, establish a timeline for the choice, and develop contingency plans for different scenarios. Wisdom without a practical structure is ineffective. The energetic dimension of practice. There is an aspect of these teachings that is rarely discussed but is fundamental for sustainable results, the energetic dimension. Each of these 7 secrets not only changes how you think or act but also transforms your personal energy in ways that affect everything around you. When you practice a trained mind consistently, you develop a quality of presence that others perceive intuitively. You become someone others want to be around because your energy is stable and reliable. This isn't mysticism, it's applied neuroscience. Human brains are highly sensitive to signs of emotional regulation in others, and people naturally gravitate toward individuals who demonstrate this quality. Operative detachment creates an energy of freedom that is magnetically attractive. When you aren't desperately attached to specific results, you radiate authentic confidence. People feel that you won't manipulate or pressure them, which creates space for genuine relationships and unexpected opportunities. Strategic compassion generates an energy of emotional safety. Others perceive, even unconsciously, that you won't judge them harshly or attack them when they make mistakes. This allows them to be more authentic around you, deepening connections and creating more productive collaborations. The 4th secret, intentional presence. But there is a 4th secret that few know, which exponentially enhances the previous ones, intentional presence. While most people live on autopilot, reacting unconsciously to environmental stimuli, magnetic individuals develop the ability to be completely present in an intentional and directed way. Intentional presence is not just being in the moment, it is the ability to consciously direct your attention and energy to maximize your impact in any situation. When you develop intentional presence, 3 things happen. Perceptive precision, you become able to read micro-expressions, shifts in tone, and body language with almost supernatural accuracy because your attention isn't fragmented. Real-time calibration, you can adjust your own energy and communication in real time. You sense when to be more assertive or more receptive, when to use humor, or when to use silence. Tangible presence, your presence becomes felt by others. People feel when you are truly there with them, creating an instant and deep connection. To develop this, use attention anchors. Choose 3 focus points: your breath, the sensation of your feet on the floor, and a specific detail of the person you are interacting with. Also, practice panoramic attention, maintaining a wide awareness that captures words, tone, body language, and your own internal reactions simultaneously. Practical integration. In work meetings, magnetic leaders arrive with radical acceptance. They don't waste energy resisting if a meeting takes an unexpected turn. With operative detachment, they present ideas without ego. If an idea is improved or rejected, they celebrate the evolution rather than feeling attacked. In romantic relationships, radical acceptance means accepting a partner as they truly are, not as you wish they were. This creates a safe space for growth. Operative detachment allows you to love without possessing, and intentional presence creates emotional intimacy that goes far beyond the surface. In leadership, magnetic leaders lead through the quality of their presence. Their integrity and ability to admit mistakes, born from operative detachment, create deep trust. Their strategic compassion allows them to lead people, not just manage tasks. In networking, they approach networking as building human relationships rather than transactions. By being completely engaged in each conversation rather than looking over someone's shoulder for the next contact, they create a lasting impact. The integration of these elements creates what we can call a personal magnetic field, an energy that attracts opportunities and people aligned with your highest potential. This is the natural result of operating from deep psychological principles that are in harmony with how the human brain actually works. If this content made sense to you, leave a comment sharing which secret impacted you the most. Your experience can inspire others. If you want more practical content on personal development and mental strategies, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. If this added value to your life, leave a like so more people can discover these tools. Until the next video.